Good, great evening to you. It's Keely Taverner, and welcome to tonight's session on overcoming narcissistic abuse. Good evening, good evening, good evening. It's good to have you here. I trust, Claire, you're letting everybody in if you're not already in, because this is the first time I'm using the webinar feature on LinkedIn, on Zoom. So as we get used to a new normal, I encourage you to join us. Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Can you let me know if you're there, because I'm not too sure if you are in the room. Well done, well done. Thank you. Good. Okay, well done, well done. The setup on the webinar is very different from what I'm used to. I'm used to using the other feature. Good evening, Jamila. Welcome, welcome. Feel free to ask questions throughout. That will be in the chat, and hopefully I'll have time to get to those. So, overcoming narcissistic abuse. Well, you may or may not know, this situation has been a situation I've been in. And I guess you can say I've spent most of my adult life really trying to understand myself ultimately, because I think that's the best way to go. Ultimately, when we get embroiled in narcissistic individuals, it can be very all-consuming. And I often find, as a highly empathic person, that in my earlier years, I'd be endeavoring to understand them, always wanting to understand them. And that meant that I didn't take the journey to begin to understand myself. And so if you are someone who finds yourself or someone you know in such a situation, it is not easy. Let's be real about it. It's a challenge. It's perplexing, it's draining, it takes up all your energy and can have devastating consequences for your well-being, your life, your finances, your emotional health, and so on and so forth. But I believe no matter what, in any adverse situation in life, there are always lessons that can be learned, and we can learn and grow from it. If, and not everybody does, we do the work on this on ourselves. So in this presentation tonight, over the next hour, I give you what I've taken away from my own experiences, which is ultimately backed up by the 10 or so odd years that I have been studying psychology. I have a degree, a master's, various diplomas. When it comes to psychology, when it comes to abusive relationships, narcissism, empaths, I am passionate about helping people to understand how they got there. But what truly delights me, and I guess that is my own journey, is how we can make lemon out of lemonades, how we can go from being a victim to being victorious over our situations. So while we didn't welcome those situations into our lives, by the time we've worked on ourselves, understood the invaluable life lessons, we are privileged enough to end up to grow from it. Now, if that makes sense to somebody out there, can I get a heart, a like, or something in the comments so I know I am not alone? Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's very much appreciated, because I miss old school face-to-face. I'd have you laughing already. So if you don't know about me, I've written books, continue to write about the topics that have basically I've been hurt by, and I'm passionate about using my pain to help others. That's the secret to life, to make pain purposeful. What qualifies me, like I've said, I've been there, I've done it, and I am also qualified by the academic achievements that I've had. And one of the things I think that also gives another edge to how I help people is that I'm always fascinated about class and race as well. So I'm the psychotherapist that doesn't come from a kind of one dimension. I'm culturally competent, and I'm passionate about helping people to understand how class, race, privilege, access to privilege, not being privileged, all impacts. And why? Because, as you can see, the picture here is of my father and my two daughters. So I come from that background. And for me, when I was training, it all matters. So when we think about narcissistic abuse, I realized that when I was going through it, there was no one for me to talk to. And by 2012, I realized that I wanted to be able to help other people going through the same situation. And that's where in 2012, I started Key for Change. What often underpins these types of abusive relationships is you may feel like you've met your soulmate. Anybody else been there? You thought you met the one, but it was just another bum. Let me know. Let me know. You may feel like you're kindred spirits. Absolutely. Yeah. Twin flames is another word that I hear being bandied about much more frequently when it comes to narcissistic abuse. Yeah. So some of these terms are really beautiful. They're really lovely terms. Another characteristic that characterizes narcissistic relationships is the bond. Yeah. You have a great bond, a real pull to that person. And for many of us, I know I've been there, I was in bondage to my bond. I thought my bond meant that the relationship should work if I just kept trying, if I just kept bending over backwards, if I kept accommodating. But I noticed the goalposts kept on moving. It just kept on moving. And it just got so broad, I end up losing contact with myself. I forgot who I was. And this is one of the reasons why when people get to Key for Change, when they pick up the phone and like, hey, I need to chat to you, they end up not knowing who they are anymore. And if you know what I'm talking about, don't worry, you're in the right place. Another characteristic that characterizes narcissistic relationship is there's an epic beginning. Yeah, you start off and it can be absolutely amazing. You fall hard. You put it on your socials. You let people know you have met the Dan, the top guy, the top girl. It is on. And that is beautiful if it works. But if it doesn't, it can be incredibly humiliating and embarrassing. Yeah. And that can create shame. So it's one of the reasons why we end up putting a face on it, pretending we're all right when we're not. Another reason why we end up becoming isolated, because we don't end up sharing. Yeah, we stay by ourselves. If any of this speaks to you guys, I can see the comments here. Give me a like, give me a heart, give me something, because just talking to the screen is a bit of a challenge for your interactive key. Cool. So what I really want people to understand here, yes, Marcia Morgan, yes, loving that, Naomi. What I want people to truly understand is that narcissistic abusive relationship, especially for the non-narcissist individual, the empath crew, my crew, the people that are often helping professionals, we're kind, we're compassionate, we've got 360 thinking, but we've got the issue. Let's be having it. We have got the issue. The issue is ours because we see potential, we believe in people, and we have fantasies in our mind's eye about how things can be. We believe in the potentiality of the relationship. Often this is because we had the epic beginning. But what you really truly need to understand about these relationships is that it is emotional relationships. If we're going to get technical, it functions on the part of the brain called the amygdala. When your amygdala is functioning, your frontal lobes are compromised. Your frontal lobes of the brain is where we make logical, rational decisions. Yes? So this could be one of the reasons why when we're out of the situation, we kind of left with like, why did I do that? Why did I unblock? Why did I end up back in bed? Like, the relationship is an emotional relationship. It's not logical. So you cannot logic it's an emotional relationship. And so many of our decisions come from emotion. One of the ways to get out of this, if you got your pen, your paper, write it down and tell a friend, it's logic that will help you. For all the feelers out there, don't worry, I'm a feeler myself. Yeah. We have to learn that our feelings can cause us problems in these relationships. And if you're like me, they could treat you like shite and you can still care. Anybody out there know what I'm talking about? If you feel embarrassed about that one, you can inbox me. But trust me, they can treat you unkindly, and for some reason, you find it very difficult to hate them or to sustain staying away from them. You are far from alone. The relationship is an emotional relationship. And that's why it's very difficult to make logical decisions about it. However, if you have got to the point where what you're doing is no longer working and the way forward is unclear, then my encouragement to you is, sometimes it can feel like you kind of like you need to get out of the relationship. And if you are at a point where you know you need to get out of the relationship, big up to all the people born in the 70s. My lady, Oliver Newton-John had a song called Let's Get Physical, Physical. This is going to be called, if you're in a narcissistic abusive relationship, you got to get logical. You have to use logic. You have to learn to accept your feelings. I'm a soft touch. Let's admit it. Put soft touch in the comments. Let's admit it. We're soft touches. We're the people that buy the big issue, even though we never read it because we just feel sorry for the person at the traffic lights or at the train station. We've all done it. We've all put it in the recycling. I know you. You're my type. Yeah. But we have to be starting to understand the relationship is need for you to get out. It's about logic. We need to understand that our feelings are our feelings, but you cannot be a victim to your feelings. It could kill you. It could take your life. You could become a Debbie Downer, a Bitty Betty, because you never get over it. And like I said in last week's talk, we don't want to be that person who's stuck in the 90s. So, what I'm here to tell you is you can still care for these people. Yes, my people, you get it? You can still have feelings for them. It's absolutely okay. Because anytime you try to squash or to act like you don't care, it's just not good for you. Yeah. So we don't pretend, never try, never. One of the worst things I see is time and time again in the therapy room, and it's one of the reasons I've created the Empath Self-Protection course. One of the most wicked things empathic people can do to themselves is lie to themselves. Yeah. If we lie to ourselves, it's one of the main reasons why your mental health will be compromised, because you start to create denial. You start to deny reality. You start to distort reality. You see red flags, and by some miracle, you're making them green. Yeah. Or you sweep it under the rug. That's why often by the time people call me when situations are hurting more than they could ever imagine, we have to start to lift back the rug, to start to see this. Often the writing was on the wall, but we didn't want to read it because the truth interrupted with our desire for the relationship. Absolutely. Like I said, one of the biggest factors that will contribute to depression is denial. Yeah. And don't worry, if people get defensive, that's fine. Well, usually by the time people come to see me, I don't really have that challenge as such because, it's gotten to a point of no return. But the worst, you can even stay in the relationship if you choose to, but don't deny what is. When you start to deny, you start to live in fantasy land. You start to develop that whole hopeless hope. And this is one of the reasons why you become depressed and sad, because lying to yourself is exceptionally hard. So let me ask you, and I'd be grateful for your comments. What emotions get the best of you in the relationship? What is the one that gets the best of you? Is it late nights when you're feeling lonely and you've got no one to engage with? What is the emotion that gets the best of you for you? What is it? Do you feel regret? Do you miss that person? You know, it's absolutely fine to miss that individual, that person. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, bless. Who loneliness is you. We have to be careful about that scrolling when the loneliness kicks in. I don't know about you, but I have to monitor myself very closely, because especially if that phone's there and if we've had a little bit of iron brew, yeah, we can make poor choices, regrettable decisions. Yeah. We got a comment here: the pull of the fantasy and the hope I had for the relationship, very hard to let go of. Naomi, this is one of the reasons why we have to use logic. We got to get logical in this relationship. We got to get logical. Yeah. And one of the things I always encourage people to is to allow your feelings. Don't deny your feelings. You can still care for the brute. You can still care for the bugger. But what is most important is what you do about it. If you surrender or you start to go off into fantasy land, it's not good for you. But say, for example, you say to yourself, you know what, I got an itch. I need some, I need some loving tonight. And you decide to take that route. If that is something you choose to do, then what might be beneficial to you is to not lie to yourself. But you say to yourself, you know, I got an itch and it needs to be scratched, and I won't be lying to myself. Lying to yourself is the worst thing that you can do. And these are the things that happen. This is the reality of life. So, like I said, overcoming encourages you to develop logical strategies and to not be seduced by your feelings. Yeah. You've done any of my groups, any of my talks, you'll know that I am a massive fan of auditing your phone. I write about this in my book, Why Love Hurts. Auditing your phone is fundamental to your well-being. It's fundamental to your well-being. Yeah. Auditing your phone, we go everywhere with that device. And for many people who come to me and like, Key, I feel anxious. Okay, so what on your phone makes you feel anxious? Is it somebody's name on your phone? Is it a message? Is it when you open socials? Or is it when you go into your WhatsApp status and you can see that somebody's been viewing your story? Or are you checking their profile pic? 2 ticks, online, not online, and you're losing your mind. Some of the strategies that you may need to develop if you're desiring to overcome the difficult situations that you've been in, you might want to opt for texting. Yeah, you may need to come off socials. You may need to stop following people. This is, yep, are absolutely, Rebecca, yes, on WhatsApp. Listen, WhatsApp is forever in the therapy room. From unhelpful groups, family dynamics, to our own stalking behavior. Yeah, because come on, let's be honest. We've all stalked. We've all stalked because it's so easy to nowadays with the way that things are done. Yeah, with this perpetual onlineness. You know, remember, for high school friend, you can Google them now and just go and see, you know, what they may well or may not be up to. So you have to learn to be your own best friend. It's a bit like being on a diet and sitting in Greg's. It's just not helpful to you. You are in a high risk situation. Proper mind games on WhatsApp. Now he's gone back to texting, not sure why. Well, remember, Rebecca, it can also be about how you take control as well. What do you need to think about? Because for many of us, especially empathic people, especially all the people who are like, okay, I think it's childish to block. Well, you may well think it's childish to block, but you might be blocking for your own sanity and your own well-being. I know I've blocked in the past, not because of them, but to protect myself from myself. So when they dictate, and if you know people play mind games with you and you allow them to dictate, then the question is, what do you need to do to protect yourself? Because only it takes two to play a game. If you ain't playing, if you put down the bat, you ain't playing in tennis. I block and he says I'm childish. Of course he'll say you're childish, but the problem you have is you care about his opinion of you. You see what I'm saying? You can call me what you want. You can call me childish. You can call me an idiot. You need to learn to grow up. Fair enough. but I have temptations and I don't like it, but I can give into them. So blocking is for your own sanity. But if you care about what other people think of you, then that's where you're vulnerable. You'll open up barriers, you'll open up a gateway, and often end up making yourself stressed out and depressed. And that is not great for you. It's not great for your greatness. We must learn to protect ourselves. But one of the biggest issues with the highly empathic people who get embroiled in narcissistic relationships is they don't know how to protect themselves. We're not very good at it. And it's one of the reasons why highly empathic people are vulnerable to abuse from narcissistic individuals, because our self-esteem issues make it a perfect match. Because you look outside yourself for validation, you need them to give you the thumbs up. So if they call you childish, now you may feel uncomfortable. So you now open the door for what? When they're the people that traumatize you and you can't sleep at night because you got your phone right next to your bed, hoping, looking, wishing that they may interact with you. Let's be real about this here. One of the other things that I often see in abusive, narcissistic, empath relationships, especially when things are breaking down, is that we sustain contact with their circle, their friend. It could be the mother, it could be the brother, the sister. But for some reason, any empathic people here who are going through it, but you're still friendly with people who are associated with them. Now, I know everybody's situation is unique to them, but we need to pay attention to the tentacles. I know personally when my situation was, my children used to go to their grandmother, for childcare. And that made my life, it was childcare has always been expensive, but it was a double-edged weapon. And I got to a point where I had to make a very difficult decision because it just was not healthy for me. It was not healthy for me. Does anybody else know what I'm talking about here? Are you still tapped in because of their circles? Yeah. You still friends with the friend, and let's be for having it. Sometimes you'll see a friend's comment and you might look at the friend name, open up the friend, look on the profile, start following. Then you start to turn Inspector Clouseau, trying to see who's who, what's what, like you're a police officer. You don't work for Scotland Yard. You don't work for Scotland Yard, my people. We must learn to keep our own sanity. Absolutely, we must learn to keep our own sanity. And this is one of the reasons why auditing your phone is just one way. Another way could be, depending on your own personal situation, you buy a Nokia. Remember the dumb phones? I think it's the smartphones that are making us dumb nowadays, but nevertheless, sometimes you might need a separate phone for that individual. So you turn, it depends on your situation, because I know not everybody's situation is the same, but you turn that phone on, and when do you turn it off? No Wi-Fi, no nothing, just straight Nokia. Yeah, you charge the phone once a year and it's good to go. Here we got a question here. I'm from an island, so it's I'm from an island, so it's like being from a small town. Okay, so that must be tricky when you come from a small environment. Yes, there's no two ways about it, but change is a must. Change is a must. Did I see a question from Claire here? Key question, how do I learn better discernment with narcs? Well, when you think about the question discernment, I think discernment takes time. Like I always say to people, discernment doesn't mean you always speak your truth. You have to learn, is it wise to speak my truth? Depending also in any narcissistic relationship, there's going to be power dynamics. And for the many empathic people who I support, empathic people do not know how to protect themselves generally. We're not great at it. It's one of the reasons why the narcissistic abusive relationship can take you to breaking point. We must learn to self-protect. And with the way the smartphones are going, auditing your smartphone is a great way to go. This is one of the reasons why I've created the Empath Self-Protection course, because we are not our own best friend. Often, I believe, empathic people, we love so hard, we give so much, because our hope is that others will then look after us. They'll know that we're good people and they'll have our backs. But often we end up in one-way relationships with people who just leech from us, leech and leech and leech. Here we go. I had to cut it all off. My sanity was more important. So how do you escape the tentacles? Well, thank you, Jay, for that question. One of the ways you begin to start, that we're talking about it, overcoming narcissistic abuse, audit in your phone. Like I'm saying to you, check in yourself. Do you still have relationships with people? I know one guy I was dating, he was a DJ, and I kept finding all these excuses to keep going to his raves, but it would traumatize me. But I was putting myself in that situation. I would tell myself, oh no, but he really plays really well. I just want to hear him play. I was lying. I just wanted to see him because I missed him. And I had to admit that to myself. And the more I could admit that to myself meant that if I wanted to go and hear him play, I would make that choice, but not lie to myself. And I found that in time, it just stopped, it fizzled out, because I knew that when I was going, I was harming myself. I hope this makes sense to people, because what I'm talking about here is developing your self-awareness. Highly empathic people who've been in narcissistic abusive relationships need to develop their self-awareness. Self-awareness is the only ammo you have. This is the way that you'll see the ways that you do it to yourself. This is what is on the Empaths self-protection course. Ways and strategies to develop your self-awareness. What I found often when it came to blocking or starting to distance myself from people who were associated with my ex was that I would be able to have a good night's sleep. Come on, man, my people. I know many of us here have had sleepless nights, because of the situations we are in. Nicely, yes, Bali, nicely. I'm explaining your life. My sister, you are far from alone. And this is exactly why I do these conversations, because I've been through this situation and I'm a very self-aware psychotherapist, and I still have to keep an eye on myself, right? And I have a very good life. I'm very blessed because I've made my pain purposeful. But I'll never deny, as a highly empathic person, narcissistic individuals will be drawn to me. And I am also drawn to them. And the more woke we can get about it, the more we realize our helping, caring qualities actually equip us to help people potentially in a profession, but also can leave us very vulnerable in our intimate relationships when we get in with tricky characters. And this matter is even further exacerbated if you had an unnecessarily difficult parent in your younger years. But that's a whole nother course. Absolutely. When it's a family member, oh, Bali, when it's a family member, it's absolutely terrifying, because I guess challenges is usually that will have, if it's in your family, usually that would have been, depends on who it is in the family, but it can be very devastating. Also, it depends if you were the child and had narcissistic parents. That can be very difficult, because by the time you get to adulthood, you have got all the necessary skills for abusive relationships. Often you may have been the child that was invisible. You may be deemed to be the good child, or we were the kid that were always helping. Helping, being kind and considerate was one of the ways that we got validated. The empathic course, the empath self-protection course, it's a 6-week course. And yes, it will be delivered via the Zoom. Zoom. All I want to do is put my Zoom in. Anyhow, back to this slide. So the relationship, when you're in your narcissistic abusive relationship, it is about mind games. Yeah. Remember the song by Shaggy, It Wasn't Me. So the kissing on the counter, it wasn't me. It's all about that. And this is one of the reasons why empathic people look, let's put it this way. Empaths and narcissists fit together like a hand in a glove. The reality is the empath will always become mashed up, broken, sad, depressed, because you need to be convinced of how great the narcissist is. You need to become a disciple and a worshiper. It's spiritual. Oh, it's spiritual. It's spiritual. They need you to worship them. And the mind games is getting you to abandon your own judgments and believe totally in them. It is also characterized by the self-doubt. Now, yes, the narcissistic individual creates doubt in you, right? Because it's one way to manipulate and control you. But the true reality is you will probably doubted yourself anyway. All they've done is come along and exploit the issues that were already there. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, give me a comment, give me a like, give me a heart. We already doubted ourselves. They come along. And trust me, they got radar for it. They got the sniffer, they can pick up the scent. They can spot us a mile off. And remember, the epic beginning has to be epic because we end up tolerating such nonsense. It could only be the beginning that enticed us. You know, a bit like when we get enticed by a taster. You'd be like, oh, would you like to taste that? And the next thing you know, you've bought, where do they give out tasters? I'm thinking of in America when you pass the little, the counters and they're like, oh, would you like to try a bit of chicken? Next thing you know, you bought the whole damn plate of chicken. Yeah. So you get a taster and that's what hooks you in. That makes you feel so wonderful. And so whilst now I still believe in the greatness of humanity, I'm very much mindful. If anybody comes and tells me how brilliant and great, wonderful, you're so wonderful, and puts me on pedestals, I'm a little bit like, hold on. Let me just observe this one, Key. Let me go and head over heels again. We don't need that kind of stress around here. I've got purpose and meaning in my life, and I need to be careful. And the empathic people, we need to be careful who we let close to us. Empathic people, you have a lot of love to give. You are kind, you're considerate, and thoughtful. We're the do-gooders of this world. Gaining access to you is a privileged position, and you need to learn that. That will benefit you so that people can't just come in, come out. So whoever said the comment about the phone, they say it's childish. You are protecting yourself because as you grow, my hope is, should you do the empath self-protection course, let me just throw it in, that you learn to value yourself. You learn to value yourself. We also know that this relationship is drenched with control and manipulation tactics. It is all about having you under their control. That is the game. That is essential. You must be controlled. Therefore, they become the puppet master, which in effect, even if we look at this image, is they become a god over you. It's one of the reasons why we need their permission. Anybody here have to ask their permission, huh? Or if they see you in a frock and they don't like it, or it just unsettles your whole day, you may have to go and change. Not because they told you to, because they're wising up, innit? They know they can't just tell somebody like that. But actually, it may mean you feel so uncomfortable, often because you care too much about their opinion. Yeah? They need to feel like they're a reigning king. Absolutely, D. They need to be worshipped and their neediness for attention. Absolutely. And this is one of the reasons why when empathic people come to therapy, they are, and for example, say if a relationship does end, when they regain their energy, well, firstly, they realize how draining the relationship was. Many empathic people end up going to the doctors for blood tests to see if anything's wrong. They're like, I'm just so tired all the time. I'm so tired. Yeah. And I'll tell you why you're tired, because your relationship is draining you. Nothing wrong with your bloods. Go and have your bloods done if you must. But your relationship is draining in ways that you are not conscious of. Remember, this relationship functions at an emotional level and it functions at an unconscious level. Therefore, on the empath course, we're developing your self-awareness. We want you to become more conscious. So you stop functioning from your unconscious mind where you don't realize how the hell you happened to understanding, okay, this is what I do to contribute to the situation. And if you are in such a relationship with a narcissistic, very unnecessarily difficult person, you know that you'll be going on guilt trips. No road trips for you. No Interstate 95. No guilt trips. No road trips. Sadness and depression is a must because worshipping and adoring somebody is forever draining. Losing your capacity to decide is draining. It's draining. Doubting yourself is draining. And even if they're not there, you're forever in your head or thinking about what ways could you change in order to help the situation. Not great for your greatness. Additionally, we also become very apologetic. Empathic people have a tendency to always think that they're the problem. Our knee jerk is to think, oh, it must be me. That knee jerk reaction is incredibly unhelpful to you because it means you straight away, you go inwards. One tactic, if we're looking for tactics, is to start to pause. Start to pause. Like I said, this relationship will drain you. It will drain you because it's an all-consuming relationship. All-consuming. And remember, what also happens is your life ends up potentially going on hold. It ends up going on hold. Your dreams may go on hold. You may end up facilitating their dreams, which is very interesting. And for a lot of empathic people, they don't even actually realize. Often, it's not all the time, but they were the people that were actually holding the narcissistic up. But because you don't know your power, you don't know your worth, you're giving it all away. And this is one of the reasons why when you decide to change, woof, and you start to plow your energy into situations you can change, not situations you can't, your life has the potential to change exponentially should you begin to start to say yes to the situations that you have said no to, your own dreams, your own ambitions. Remember the things you said no to. Anybody here in debt because of their narcissist? Help them out a little bit too much. And now you might be scared to let them go because you don't know if you're going to get your money back. Anybody tied up in properties? Yeah, I see you. It's not easy out here. Remember, I'm a confidant to many. Yeah. And I've worked in prison. There is not a lot that surprises me in life, but you are far from alone in these situations. Empathic people often end up in therapy. And I'm proud to say I now bring the insights that I've learned over the many years of helping others and going through my own mayhem to assist you to develop self-awareness. D says, we are still financially linked in properties. 5 years later, it'll take time, he's saying. Oh, he's saying it will take time. Well, well, that sounds like he's got all the power. You see, he says it's taking time. Where are you in that, D? Where's your point in that? And like I said, I had a conversation today. Often empathic people ask questions when you need to start making statements. Where's your assertive communication? If you don't want to be financially linked with this individual, what choices may you need to make? What is the solution for your situation? Well, I've already told you, note it down if you're not sure. It's logic, yeah, and often legal. For some of us, depending on your narcissistic situation, you need to get legal. I'm sorry, but you need to pay some money and see some professionals. You might need to go and see a solicitor based on your situation, because I've seen some narcissistic individuals run people in circles. But the reason why they was able to run you in circles is because they underestimate you. If you know your narcissist underestimates you, give me a hello, give me a hi, give me a wink, give me something out here, give me a whoop, whoop, right? They underestimate you. So they spin you a yarn because they never expect that one day you would get up and say, you know what, let me go and ask a solicitor about this. You sit down in the solicitor's office. For some of you, like, you're like, hold on, I'm winning if I start to take this stuff on board. Absolutely. Of course, they underestimate you. They take us for idiots. Let's be honest. It's fine. Or maybe if I offend you, well, that's fine. Sometimes we need to be offended to shake us out of our oblivion. The way forward is we must learn to believe in ourselves. And starting to believe in yourself doesn't just happen overnight. I didn't get from IKEA checkouts to having my own business and owning my own property in a nice part of town. Never happened overnight. Slow and steady. Just like how we like our love making, innit, ladies? Slow and steady. No dagga, 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 dagga. Nice and slow. Usher Raymond. Yeah, man, that's right. Sarita, not take people for idiot. They take us for idiot. They come with their stories, and because we've always bought into their stories, because we're the Care Bears of this world, we're the soft hearts, yeah, we always buy into their stories. And I'll tell you one thing, stop believing the stories, yeah? Depending on your situation, if it's going to put you in harm's way, don't say it. But you can say to them, oh, another story. Oh, what's the story today? That one, they don't like that one. I'll tell you why they don't like that one, because you see the mask now. Now you're starting to pick up. Now they're going to start thinking, who the hell she been watching? And don't let them know you know Keely Taverner, because none of them don't like me. So don't try coming here for couples therapy, because I don't do it. They don't like me. And I've got a nose for them. Amen. You see, you have to learn to see them. My empathic people, you must learn to take back your power. Yeah, you must learn to take back your power. Stop believing the stories they tell you. They are in it for themselves. They make sure their cocoa basket is nice. Trust me, and when it goes down, you're going to see some colors, real colors, real colors. What they do, it's in the story. The stories they tell you are laden with inserts to make you feel sorry for them. Oh, poor him. Poor him. Plus, so many of us know about their stories of trauma. They didn't get hugs from their mum, or their dad beat them up. And so you buy into their trauma story. You're like, oh, well, this happened to him. So you justify the nonsense by the story. You justify it. Any story you have, you are told, will be designed to tap into your empathy. And this is why I've created the Empath Self-Protection course. You're being manipulated. You're being controlled. And the more you can learn that. Another story. When I was working in prison, I used to say to the guys, oh, miss, can you help me? Oh, this was what happened. I said, brother, I don't need another story. These earlobes don't need another story. It is what it is. Let's do solution. It is what, let's say, brother, I'm not guilty. I said, brother, we working in prison. I said, bro, no man in this prison is guilty. Join the club. No more stories. No more stories, but you have to work out if it's safe for you to do so. I don't know anybody's situation here. Depends on your situation. Lady R, yes, father's died. That's why it's like that. There you go. And R, it's highly likely we've listened to that story and we justify the nonsense behavior because he was a daddyless son. Yeah? No. Justification, no, not helpful to you. Not helpful. Mother left him at 3 months. Well, there you see, there it is. And so that story, yeah, wow, look at that. That story is the story that taps into our empathy. That story enables us to justify and continue. And this is one of the reasons why I'll tell you two things that happen. And if you're trying to get out, watch this. When your hope begins to go, so you become grounded in reality, when your hope goes, and when you stop buying into the stories, hope and the stories, that's a game changer. Key question, how do I learn to be more assertive? I find them exhausting and I back off. So they are stressful. Well, assertion will come from, it's a journey. It's an absolute journey. So assertive, it's an inside job firstly. It's an inside job firstly. I'd have to understand more about your predicament to see how people are making you passive. Remember, the challenge is, there's assertive, aggressive, or passive. Passive is when all you worry about is everybody else. You can't just read, I could give you a whole load of answers here, but if you went home and started trying to be assertive tomorrow, it wouldn't work for you. You got to start small. If you go to the petrol station and he doesn't give you back your 5 pence and you just walk off and don't ask for it, the place you start is by asking for your 5 pence back. We start slow and steady, slow and steady. Passive behavior is usually very entrenched, and we don't need any knee-jerk reactions. No, it's not helpful to you. Slow and steady. This is why my courses are longer. It's actually cheaper for you to work with me in the group. You get access to me. And I also have packages for people should they want to work with me after or even during the course. You get my best rates. I'm assertive, but challenging was more exhausting. The challenging would be exhausting because you're supposed to shut your mouth up and do what you're told, sweetheart. So it will be, but with any new behavior, it's hard and it can be challenging. The challenge is, can you break through? It's about pushing for the breakthrough, for the greater good. In the interim, it will be uncomfortable. Anything you do new is uncomfortable. But what often happens is that place is so uncomfortable, we abandon change and we go back to the humdrum. It's one of the reasons why we become further and further depressed and feel like change will never happen. Change can happen, but you can't expect that when you're doing something for your own betterment, that other people will be on board. When you do things for your betterment and people have leached and drained for you, they are going to be the most adverse. I'm telling you here is you need to expect it and welcome it. Yeah. We hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst and we hope for the best. Take back your power. One way you can take back your power is starting to audit your phone. That's just one way. These are a few strategies. Another thing that I encourage people to think about is, how do you begin to overcome guilt? Overcoming guilt is so fundamental, because for many people, they experience guilt and it keeps you stuck. It keeps you on the puppet strings. And let me tell you something, my people. Remember, I told you this relationship is emotional. Your narcissist individual, he knows it. And he taps on that in order to get you back in your box. Don't care what self-help book you've been reading. Get back in your box, lady, or sir, or Z. It depends what kind of mood I'm in. He's been awful to me, then I take it out on everyone else because it mentally drains me. Absolutely, Rebecca, understand how that happens. Definitely can take it out on other people. Absolutely. And that's one of the things we have to be careful of. You know, I know I was a young mum when I was going through my situation, and absolutely it impacts on the kids. And if you are, you know, a mother and you are in that situation, or a father in that situation, it's one of the reasons why you may have to get to your crossroads, because there's devastating ripples. It can affect your career, your health, your other relationships, your family dynamics, especially if you keep going back. You know, it can start to compromise, it can start to spill out. So here's 3 ways that I would encourage you to start to take steps. Is to overcome guilt. We must learn to sit with guilt rather than be catapulted into taking knee-jerk reactions. When you experience guilt, what I'd love you to do, and feel free to send this to me if you have my number or whatever, voice note me. What I want you to do is to notice what you do when you experience guilt. Note it down. Say, Key, I felt like saying yes. Key, I felt like this. Because what that is doing is helping you to become aware of what you do when you experience guilt. Remember, the people who are trying to control and manipulate you they know how you respond already. They predict that. What we want to show them is that we are unpredictable. Secondly, ways to overcome narcissistic abuse. Invest in the Empath self-protection course. I bring together all I understand and know about this situation. Another way to move forward is making your pain purposeful. How can you make what you have gone through purposeful? That's exactly what I've done with my life. Obviously, I have a bias, but my encouragement, what I've seen is that people, you know, that's the term, lemons into lemonades. I now help others. My life has purpose and meaning, and my life has changed exponentially. I'm no longer waiting for a lover to come and save me. I'm saving myself. And yes, I'm single. I would love a healthy relationship. And right now, it's just not there. So I'm content with being with self. And sometimes I'm not, but generally, it's fine. What do you need? For many of us, we can't do single. We can't be alone. For many of us, we are frightened of being alone. So what do? Pick up the phone. We're scared that they'll leave. How can I key question here? How can I help my children deal with her narc father? Listen, it's very difficult when it comes to children. And one of the things that often happen with the clients I support is that it gets legal and an assessment gets done through child services. So I think depends on your situation, but I would encourage you to have legal practice in place and collect evidence all day long. Often narcissists see their children as extensions of themselves, or they will use the children to control, manipulate, and break you. So it can get very dirty, and have devastating consequences for the kids. So again, I'd encourage you to get legal, and don't be making any verbal agreements with these people. It's not helpful to you. It's just not helpful, because they're poor with boundaries. They'll say one thing, do another. If you're at that point where you're still making verbal arrangements with them, and then they take the piss, let the kids down, it's all a part of the mind games. Get legal. And often they don't like that part. They don't like, because now you're being more assertive. Yeah. So the benefits of you taking control is that you feel in control of your life. This is the benefits of starting to put some of the tips I've put out here in practice. You're less likely to feel overwhelmed. That's the benefit for you. You're less likely to feel overwhelmed. I'm not saying it's easy, but what I'm saying to you is, if you can begin to make your pain purposeful, start to develop yourself, stop plowing your energy into situations that can't change, you begin to help yourself. You don't feel so out of control. And another benefit that happens is you start to think, oh my God, who am I? Now I have this energy. What else can I bring into my life? What are the dreams I've abandoned? And this, I believe, is one of the secrets to life, is you go from being a victim to a victor. And that's what we really want. We want to become victorious over our situations. Now, I know this isn't easy, and it's easy to go back. I'm not denying that. As you know, your girl Key is exceptionally real about the realities of this situation. What I have designed in the Empath Self-Protection course is tools, insights. I'll share my life with you in order to encourage you. You can ask me, and I'm going to give you the best that I know in order to help you navigate your situation. But the true reality is, you must learn to protect yourself. And this just isn't like with a narcissistic partner. This is a course to help you develop life skills to protect your gift, so you know how to use it mindfully and at the appropriate times. It's really important for empathic people to learn to say no and to put ourselves first. Now, you're going to learn new skills. You're going to learn about the importance of taking responsibility for yourself. For many of us, we give away our responsibility to others, thinking that if we're nice to them, we're good to them, that they'll see us and have our back. Those same people will stab you in your back and take your purse, yeah, in order to line themselves up. This is, I believe, so incredibly important for all the empathic people who've come across the therapy chair, the therapy room, to help inspire. The Empath Self-Protection course is 7 weeks. Well, it's 6 weeks. We have a bonus week. It's live weekly sessions with myself. You get in-depth work and in-depth workbooks that are given to you every week, and a private WhatsApp group where you can ask me direct questions. The course is designed to help you make small, consistent steps. It helps you to understand why you've ended up in the situation and what you need to do about it. It gives you place to practice. Exercises, I want you to kind of go out and practice and come back with your little insight, share with the group the strides that you've made. This is incredibly important for us. The course is usually £597. Today, for the people who are here, it's just £297. The link is here. My assistant Claire has also put that in the group. So link in and use the code EMPATH to invest in you. Now, there's one thing I know about Empaths, my Empath crew. How do I know this? Because I've been there. We have many blocks when it comes to saying yes to ourselves. So I'd like you to think about, just take a moment as we come to an end. What blocks you from saying yes to you? What's your number one thing? Let me see a comment there. What blocks you from saying yes to you? What blocks you? Because I tell you what I've noticed with empathic people, we will go above and beyond, break our necks for others. We're like the fourth emergency service. What blocks you from saying yes to you? What are the ways that you find to sabotage yourself? Empaths, I know you. Guilt, the sense of being selfish, absolutely. And here we go. These are the ones I got here. You might only be here for the free stuff. Many people attend my free masterminds. Yeah. You may feel guilty spending on you. A lot of empathic people who are so used to giving everybody else, not comfortable giving to themselves. Often this is linked to a bigger issue, and we can explore that on the self-protection course. For some people, and rightfully so, you might scared your partner might find out. Absolutely true. You know, my book, Why Love Hurts, I do encourage my clients, don't be leaving this on the bedside table. It will create problems. Yeah. Money. Often we make money a block. One of the reasons, again, it links back to that we find the money for others, but we always have an issue when it comes to ourselves. Always have an issue when it comes to ourselves. Why do we do this? What is that about? It's about the ways that you neglect yourself. And I'm here to tell you, your life, you can go to your doctors for the next 6 months. You can go on every CBT-based course. You can read all the self-help books you like. But the true reality is you have to learn to invest in yourself. You have to learn to invest in yourself. Lifelong, lifelong. Buy the dress, say yes. Now I'm not talking about get yourself in debt, because a lot of us are buying some foolishness. Yeah, but investing in you. I tell you this, I've never lost when I've invested in myself, never lost, because I've made my pain purposeful. Yeah. Interesting. Time. We also use time. Oh, I ain't got time. I ain't doing this. I ain't doing that. Yeah, you ain't got time, but you got time to Netflix and chill, ain't you? Watch another episode. What is that all about? All I know is, and this is what my own experiences teach me, when you break down that wall, when you overcome, when you start to say yes to you, when you take your hard-earned money and you invest in you, there's a snowball effect. It becomes far easier to say yes to the next thing. I would not be in here if I hadn't have said yes. I paid for my master's. I paid about £13,000 for my master's. And when I started, I had no money, none. And I found a way. I took that loan. There was a hardship loan. There was an education loan. A lot of your boroughs will also help you should you want to use education as a transformative tool. I am biased. I have believed in the power of education as a transformative tool. When you start saying yes to you start to overcome that guilt. You're no longer just talking about it, you're experiencing overcoming the guilt. And I tell you, there's nothing like it. That is true, pure freedom. You realize the money will come because we can manifest. You know about manifestation, like I said the last time. People come to me, Keely, how do you manifest? Come, Key, you've come from an estate. Now you're living up by the river. How do you do it? I said, my sister, you manifest already. You just manifest what you don't want. Imagine what happened if you turn your energy to what you do want. Ouch. Ooh, ooh. Invite me to the party. I'ma be there. I'ma be a keynote speaker. And let me tell you what also happens to you when you start to say yes to you. You begin to make a way out of no way. And that is spiritual. That is when we begin to walk by faith. You get out of your mind where you think you have all the answers or you want your ducks lined up in a row, and you start to say yes and move in a very different direction. Now, should you sign up today, we got a gift for you worth £49 and you'll get a copy of my book, Why Love Hurts, as well as a bonus. But like I said, don't be leaving it on the bedside table. Any questions? Any further questions? That's the end of our session tonight. But do let me know if you have any questions or queries. I did see a question pop up there. I don't know where that went. My course starts next week. We start 8th of July on a Thursday at this, a Thursday next week. We've got 8 days to go, 8 days and counting. It would be great to have you on board. Investing in yourself, you never lose when you invest in you. You never lose when you invest in you. Remember, there is no one coming to save us. We must learn to be our own best friend. Well, I want to thank you all for attending tonight. It has been an honor and a privilege, as ever, to bring together these insights. I'm passionate about helping people because I'm passionate about not seeing people end up at the far end of the mental health spectrum. So many people, it doesn't have to go that way. So many people just need help to understand what we do that makes life difficult for us. Many of us, we don't understand because we're unconscious. We're not conscious. The Empath Self-Protection course is designed to help you develop your self-awareness so you begin to understand how you co-create situations, and most importantly, the tactics and skills you'll need to break through. I want to thank you all for being on board, for your interaction. And Bibi, the next one, well, my assistant Claire and I will be talking about the next one and setting up some dates. But the masterminds will always be in the lead up to my online courses. So I do hope to see you there. If any of you want to work with me, maybe on a one-to-one, you feel that your issues are too big to go in the group, that's absolutely fine. Inbox me. My assistant has put my online diary link there. It would be a pleasure to meet with you. Do take care of you, because if you don't, no one is coming to save you. You must learn to save yourself. Take care. Bye.